Hello and welcome to the CompCalc Plus 2017 Advanced Tips and Techniques Support and Training video. Before we begin, let's be reminded that the viewer of this video, as well as all users of the CompCalc, should be advised that it's not the intent of the law office of Richard Montarbo to create an attorney-client relationship nor provide legal advice. All viewers of this video and or users of the CompCalc are instructed to consult an attorney and or the DEU to confirm all information and data provided. The CompCalc is an estimator, not a calculator. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You'll see that I'm using, once again, the iPhone 7 Plus for the purpose of this demonstration. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the icon. This is the beta version of the 2017 that's been thoroughly tested and about to be released at the time of my making this video. I'm going to go through it with you and show you some of the advanced features through the advanced tips and techniques video. I'm going to go ahead and tap on the icon. You'll see that we go into this opening screen. It says CompCalc Plus 2017. It goes into the module or the area in which I was last involved. I'm going to go ahead and erase this out so when we come to it, it'll be clean. Now I'm going to start with the PD rating module. I'm going to go ahead and erase everything out of this, and we're going to start anew. First thing I want you to be aware of is that the CompCalc is ADA compliant, especially for somebody like me that a few years ago started, well, 5 years ago, started wearing reading glasses. Number one, be aware that the pinch function works on all screens on your smart device. Second, you'll note that when I use the pinch function, that let's cancel out of that what happens is the rating string down at the bottom does not enlarge. So how do you enlarge that without putting your reading glasses on? Well, you take your thumb or your index finger, you hold it down for approximately 1 second, a second and a half, and bam, up comes your rating string. Of course, we haven't put anything in, so there's nothing in there other than a representation of what the string or the inputs would be. To go back, you tap any place on the screen other than where you see the rating string. Again, I held down my finger, it comes up, I tap any place on the screen, and I go back to the original screen. I'm going to do a quick rating here because I want to show you the relational database within. This is also covered in the rating module training support video, but let's do a quick rating. Tap to select. I'm going to select date of birth, and what I'm doing here is I'm selecting a date of birth using the rollers, and I'm double tapping. You can also hit OK. On the Droid device, you're required to hit OK. Whole person impairment, we're going to go back to our old friend, the DRE3, 13% standard. Now, I've covered this in each video because this is where I receive the greatest amount of questions. Part of body and occupation. Now, when I tap, on part of body, it's going to go into part of body, and it's going to give me general and specific part of body. When I tap back, it's going to go back to part of body and occupation. When I tap on occupation, it's going to go into a schedule of industries and also schedule of occupation. So I'm going to go in and out, and I want to show you that because I get a lot of questions on that. Part of body, I'm tapping on tap to select, bam, it does a reverse flip, and it goes into general part of body and detailed part of body. Now when I tap on the screen where it says general part of body, detailed part of body, it goes back out, and now I have part of body occupation. When I tap on the area to the right, the input field to occupation, now I go into occupational industry, schedule of occupation. When I tap to the left on the title, occupational industries or schedule of occupation area, I go back out. So let's go ahead and finish this up. We're going to go to part of body. I'm going to go into general part of body. I'm going to go down to spine, double tap on that. Here's the relational database. And I've selected spine, and instead of having all the parts of body, now I only have the spine parts of body. But what you may not know is that across the top, there's a search engine input field. It says type text to search. So let's say that we have a crane operator, and I want to know, let's say that we have a lumbar DRE. That's the occupational variant that I jumped ahead on. But let's say that I want to do the lumbar. It's a lumbar entry, so I want to know what my options are for lumbar. So I type in LUM, and bam, it brings up all the lumbar options. Of course, the first one is the DRE. I double tap on that, and it just inputted it. Now I want to go back out so I can fill in my occupation. So I tap on the area with the title, General Part of Body, Detailed Part of Body. I tap on that. Now I'm back out, and I want to go back into occupation. Now I have occupational industries and schedule of occupation. Now here again, I have a relational database, so that makes inputting much more simple. I'm going to go into occupational industries. I'm going to tap select. Here, I want to show you a couple things. First of all, we have an alphabetized list of all the occupational industries per the schedule. Excuse me. Second, this is what I wanted to show you. At the top, it says occupational industries. Below that, in parentheses, it says tap for occupational group. So it says occupational industries, tap for occupational group. I'm going to tap for occupational group. And bam, up come all the groups. Now let's say again, I know the name, I don't know the occupation, but I know the name of the occupation. Let's say it's a crane operator. I'm going to go to the search engine, it says type text, use search. I'm going to type crane, and bam, what happens? Heavy equipment. So now I'm going to tap on the verbiage under heavy equipment, tap on that, and it automatically completes my rating string. So it's completed. Now the other thing I want to show you is the export feature. The export feature is the box in the almost to the top on the right hand side. It's the box with the up arrow. I'm going to tap on that, and first I'm going to save this away, and I'm going to save it away under Tom. Tom's the name of the applicant. Of course, I could put the physician's name in there, the date of the report, the case number, and any notes I might want. You'll see that we have the vintage icon floppy disk for saving it away. So now I have Tom. I'm going to save that away. Now I'm going to erase the entire rating, and I'm going to do that by tapping on the whisk broom to the left upper. Tap on that. It says OK, and now it's gone. But now I'm going to import it, and I do that by restoring, and I said it was Tom, and now it's all there. Now when I tap on the export feature, I have additional options. One of the options, which is really neat, is I can print to a wireless printer, or I can mail it. Now watch what happens when I tap on mail. Again, we have the vintage icon letter. I can fill out this field, but when I tap on letter, watch what this does automatically for you. It goes ahead and it puts together a complete email. All you have to do is put in who you want to send it to with a PDF. Isn't that cool? I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to delete the draft, and I'm back. Now I'm going to wipe this out so that it'll be clean when I come back. So again, just to summarize, some of the advanced features and functions are the save and restore as well as export feature, but also the pinch feature and the enlargement on the rating string feature. I want to show you one other thing. When I restore Tom again, and now it's restored, and now I want to hold down, and you can see there's my complete rating. One other thing that you should be aware of is if you have multiple rating strings, and this is covered in the rating module, if you hit plus, it duplicates your last rating, and you can go ahead and modify that rating. And of course, it's probably going to be, rather than a spine, an upper extremity, and I select that, okay. And of course, the occupational group is going to be the same, and I've just rated it. But what's neat is at the bottom, it says combined value on. But we all know there may be times when the combined value is not the most accurate rating, and so the doctors may suggest that it should be turned off. And then it merely aggregates your two rating strings, the 19 and the 14 for 33, and it automatically adjusts the amount. Of course, you have the average weekly wage, you have apportionment if you wanted to put in some apportionment. Let's say the back was 75% industrial, it automatically readjusts everything for you. Okay, so I'm going to wipe that out, and let's go on to the PD module. Now this is a PD indemnity chart, and it does a couple things that are pretty cool that I didn't cover in the basic features and functions. The first thing that it does that's pretty cool is if you go to 2005 through 2012, you'll see that there's a ball here, and this is to calculate your 15% up or down. It gives you a flat figure if it's in the center. I'm just touching that ball and moving it to the right for a 15% up. I'm touching it and moving it to the left for a 15% down. You make sure that you bring it all the way across to do that, okay? And it gives you the proper indemnity rate for that. Of course, you can input the average weekly wage and the PD rate. I told you this year that we modified that to allow you to actually just put in a PD rate and it'll do a reverse calculation, or you can put in the average weekly wage, it'll calculate the PD rate, never above the max or below the min, given the date of injury. But one feature that I didn't cover is what happens when you have 100%. Well, we know 100%, an award of total disability, is a temporary disability rate for life. We also know that the PV discount rate may apply when you're trying to figure out, a settlement value, but also the COLA calculation applies. So let's do one real quick. Let's say it's a 2009 date of injury. Let's say you have a female. Okay, we're using 2010 census data. You can input the average weekly wage, or it'll assume max. If you don't provide that, max TD for that date of injury. We want to put in the age at first payment. Then we want to put in the COLA calculator and the PV calculator. Now the PV rate is the opposite of what the COLA rate is. The difference is that I have written it so that the COLA calculation is an annual calculation divided by 12, whereas the PV calculation is calculated on a monthly basis. So the point of that for you wonky people are that the PV will always be higher than the COLA given the same rate of calculation because of the value of time, money over time. Okay, but you can see at the bottom it says future value. The future value without the PV or COLA calculation is 1.7 million. But the PV COLA, applying a 3.5 on a 48-year given life expectancy with a 1.25 present value discount rate, raises that by almost 800,000 to 2.5, almost 2.6 million. So 2.59, or yeah, 2.595. Okay, let's move on to TD. What I did in the TD is a couple of really neat things. We're all down at the board, and we're always calculating temporary disability for a given period. The first thing that you really need to understand about the way this works is you have to put in on this first page the date of your injury to calculate a given period, because that's going to be always your start date. You're never going to have TD before that. And the reason I put it in is to ensure that there are no errors in the calculation. In other words, I'm making this idiot proof. Now at the bottom you'll see date calculator, and here again, anytime you see something in the screen, if it works, if it has something behind it, just tap on it and see what happens. We're going to tap on the area that says date calculator, and up comes the date calculator. Now I want you to also be aware of this. I showed you the pinch feature, but you should also know that by putting your finger on the left-hand border, a long border on your phone, you can move it up or down so that you can see the screen better. All I'm doing is swiping up or down with my finger on the left-hand part. The reason I don't put it in here is, although it'll work, this is also, when I say in here, on the rollers, this is also, it won't move up or down, it's moving the rollers rather than up or down. But if I move my finger on the left-hand border of my phone, I'm able to move it up or down. Now really quickly, let's go ahead and just do a standard calculation. February 1st, 2010 through February, let's go January. Oh, look at, see, I told you it was idiot proof. I have to go to 2011. It won't let me go before that. And I want to go to January 31st. Now what's important here is this. You'll see that it says calculation includes start date but excludes ending date. Now that's the way we calculate TD. So be aware of that. If you're calculating an ongoing period of TD, then you're going to want to calculate it with that end date included, which means you add a date to it. But if you're calculating a period that ends with a permanent stationary status, then you're going to want the calculation just the way that it is. But let's say we move this to February 1st. You can see that that has excluded the date February 1st. So it ends on the 31st, and that gives you 1 year, 365 days. Now, one of the features I put in here is because we don't really talk in days in workers' compensation, because it's 104 weeks of TD, we actually talk in weeks. So if you tap, it says days, tap to flip. So let's go ahead and do that. Bam. And there's your dates. That's 52 weeks, 1 day. Now you might say, well, why is that? Because we exclude the last date, but include the first date. See how that works? Okay. One other thing that I want you to be aware of is you can put the average weekly wage in. Otherwise, it'll assume the max TD to calculate your periods of TD liability. Now, up at the upper left-hand corner, there's an X. I'm going to tap on that. Bam, we're back out. Okay. Now, tapping across the bottom, we have life pension. And the neat thing about life pension is that I actually put a PV COLA calculator on here. When I go to the PV COLA calculator, what you'll see is you put in the life pension, you put in the gender, put in the average weekly wage, it'll assume max if not provided. You put in the age at first payment, you put in the COLA calc, you put in the PV calc, and it gives you the future value of the PD. That's the full amount, but it also applies your PV, your present value calculation, to reduce it. It gives you the future value of the life pension. Now, recall that the life pension is paid after all the PD is paid out based on life expectancy at the life pension rate. That's what the future value of the life pension number represents. But then we have to apply a PV and COLA calculation of the life pension. And that's what that is. We've applied both a COLA increasing the inflation rate and a PV discount rate. So they work inversely, but of course when you look at my inputs, I have 3.5 for the COLA increasing rate, and the PV discount rate is only 1.5. So we have a net increase over the future value of that life pension. And then of course it aggregates the total future value and the total PV COLA value. Okay. Another thing that I want to go over with you is the more. The three dots, if we hit it twice, you'll see that these are all the different modules that allow you to bring up information for California workers' compensation calculations and information. But you've already evidently found support and training. We tap on that, you can see basic features and functions, and structural rating tutorial. This version does not have the advanced tips and techniques, but by the time of the release, that will be added. Registration. It's important that you register this because that's the only way that you're going to find out about updates annually, and so that's important, and also to provide support. And then last, the about. And there's only two areas that you go to the internet. That is for the support videos and then also for the about. You'll see that my team of developers are included this year. That's right, I'm no longer doing all this by myself. If you tap on Montarva Law, it'll take you directly to our email, to our website, and that's what's brought up, and you can go through whatever you want to contact us here. Okay, I'm going to exit out of that. I'm going to go back to the CompCalc PD rating module, and now I'm going to exit out of that. And that concludes the advanced tips and techniques. Hopefully this has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, certainly if you have any comments, let me know. If you have any ideas for additions, let me know. Okay, thanks so much.